A very good day to everyone. This is Dr. Neha Khodke welcoming you for yet another session of Zomeo Classroom. Today, we are going to see a very interesting case of polycystic ovarian disorder with a slight twist. Let's have a look. What do you do when you are unable to extract a working mental picture in a case? Something to think about. This is the case of polycystic ovarian disorder. We see a 21-year-old girl, a second-year medical student, who came with complaints of irregular periods and unexplained weight gain since 6-7 months. She has developed few hairs on her chin, which alarmed her and her family. She consulted a gynecologist when she did not get her period for 2 months. The doctor said that she was suffering from hormonal imbalance. She was prescribed allopathic medicines for 21 days to regularize the menses. So when we say allopathic medicines, these were oral contraceptive pills which are usually prescribed in cases of amenorrhea without the cause of pregnancy. Now, what the OC pills usually do is that they are given for a cycle of 21 days, after which the pills are stopped. Usually within a period of 3 days, the girl gets withdrawal bleeding. Now remember, these are not periods. This is withdrawal bleeding. But in the allopathic domain, the OC pills are known or given to regularize menses. Now, in the case of this girl, this was continued for 3 months. Every treatment of 21 days was followed by scanty withdrawal bleeding. After completing the 3-month course, she again started getting menses. However, they were still irregular and she continued to gain weight. As an interjection, let me put that even OC pills cause weight gain as a side effect because they are basically low doses of hormones. She was suggested to go in for an ultrasonogram. Now, if you look at this report of 5th February 2013, the impression is polycystic ovaries, multiple circular echolucent lesions seen in both ovaries with a size of 6 to 8 millimeters. She is now a frank case of PCOD. What now? After having a look at her report, her gynecologist suggested her to go in for Metformin. Metformin is a common anti-diabetic drug which is also given along with the OC pills in cases of PCOD because a certain level of impaired glucose tolerance is seen in cases of polycystic ovaries as well. Being a medical student, she knew the implications of such medicines and she decided to go in for homeopathic treatment on her parents' advice. When we took a detailed history, this is what we saw. Her periods have been irregular since 6 months after her first MBBS or medical degree examination. Her last irregular menses came on 20th of January. Now, It is important that we take the history of her menses before the allopathic medicines were started. If you remember, when the medicines were started, when the allopathic OC pills were started, her withdrawal bleeding was scanty. But if you see her history before the medicines were started, the flow was profuse. Few clots, but mostly a watery discharge with occasional discharge of a few large membranes. Menses were always late. Now these are the concomitants that we see around her menses. Apart from the quality of the menses, the symptoms that are present before, during, and after the menses are equally important to know what are the PQRS or characteristic symptoms of a patient. Before menses, she had a leukorrhea 7 to 10 days prior with pain in abdomen and occasional headache. During menses, although there was no pain, there was a severe weakness with an exhausted feeling all the time. And after menses, there were no specific complaints. Her other symptoms: weight gain. Again, a common symptom seen in PCOD. She has gained 7 kgs in the past 5 to 6 months. Her appetite is not very good since she has become conscious of the weight gain. There is a constant bitter taste in the mouth. Now, when we say that she has a bitter taste, this is a very peculiar symptom, but we first need to identify whether this is a side effect of the OC pills that she was taking. So we checked on the side effects and we saw that bitter taste is not there or it is not listed. So this is a symptom which is peculiar to her only and unexplained by even other symptoms or causes like GERD or symptoms of epigastric or retrosternal burning. There was nothing of such kind. It's getting really interesting, isn't it? And I hope that you are noting down what you feel are the characteristics in this case. Looking now again, she loves salty and tangy foods. There is an aggravation from eating meat and drinking milk, which causes body ache, itching on the skin, and loose motions. Bowels are not regular, hard and difficult stool since 6 months. Perspiration is profuse and all over the body. Thermally, she was found to be a chilly patient. She likes to sleep till late in the morning, as she has noticed that all her problems increase in the morning, like heaviness in the head, body ache, and abdominal discomfort. She also mentioned that if she takes a bath in the morning, her whole day will be spoiled. She gets headache and cannot concentrate in her study. So she prefers to take bath at night, or sometimes she does not even bathe. That is the level of aggravation that bathing gives her. When we probed about her life situation, she said that she had a very happy childhood. Her ambition is to become a doctor and heal people. When asked for the reason behind this choice, she said, nothing in particular. I just like biology and science as subjects. No specific fears, only mildly anxious about my complaints, mildly stressed before the examination, which she said is very natural, and she has not faced any major stressful situations before. So if you see in her mental picture, since this is a case of PCOD, we naturally expected that there will be certain stressors in her life because stress is what usually leads to hormonal imbalance. Now, in this case, we were not able to extract any such major stressful factor apart from the fact that she is mildly stressed before an examination, which is natural in everybody. What do we do now? How do we prescribe when the mental picture does not show any major characteristic symptoms? Can we prescribe when the mental picture does not show any major characteristic symptoms? What do we do in this case? Do we give up? Do we say, no, we cannot give you a medicine because there is no mental picture that we can extract? Why? Is it necessary to always have a mental picture when we prescribe? I don't think so. This is not what our stalwarts say. We usually try to get a mental picture so that we are able to give a constitutional that covers everything. That is the Kantian approach. But in cases such as these, when a mental picture cannot be extracted very well, we do have an approach to fall back on, which was given by another very, very important and huge name in homeopathy, and that is Boenninghausen. We just need to use a different approach in this case. Now, if you look at what is written by Boenninghausen, he has specified that a case can be suitably resolved and an accurate remedy achieved by prescribing on the striking and singular symptoms of a case. So, when we say that we have no mental picture, we do not need to panic or get anxious. All we need to do is see if there are any other symptoms that are absolutely striking in this patient. And if you have looked carefully at the case history, you will have noted that there are many such symptoms that are characteristic for this patient. Let's have a look at which they are. What do we have in this case? Now, when we look at what Boenninghausen says, he says that there are certain symptoms which you can consider to be absolutely characteristic or striking for a patient in your case. The first in this case is the peculiarity of the disease, the characteristic symptoms of her menses. The second are the concomitants, which are so obvious and so intense in this patient. We talk about the weakness during the menses, the bitter taste in the mouth, as well as the constipation. The constipation and the bitter taste especially cannot be explained and are unrelated to the chief complaint. The third, again, very, very intense features in this case are the modalities. The marked aggravation from bathing, eating meat, drinking milk. And fourth, the morning aggravation, the time modality, given so much importance by Boenninghausen and Boger. We do have a lot of symptoms in this case on which we can prescribe the right remedy. We just need the right approach. Remember, every case need not be solved in a specific way or in just one way. There are different stalwart approaches that can also be applied and that we can always fall back on to ensure that we are giving the correct remedy to our patient. Now let's have a look at the totality. Here is the totality of symptoms that we took for this patient based on the Boenninghausen approach. The first symptom was menstruation too late. Remember, we need to take the core picture of the patient, which is unadulterated from the allopathic medicines that were given later. So importance is given to the quality of the periods before the allopathic medicines were given. So menstruation too late, menstruation profuse, menstrual discharge membranous, menstrual discharge watery. All four of these symptoms denote the peculiarity of the disease. Our next symptoms are the concomitants: weakness during menses, bitter taste in mouth, constipation. We then go to the modalities. Again, extremely important and intense in our case. Eating meat aggravates, drinking milk aggravates, aggravation from bathing, aggravation in the morning. And we have also taken an important craving, which becomes a good modifier or determiner to the final remedy, which is a desire for salty food. Now, this statement has been made in the BBCR or Boger-Boenninghausen characteristics and repertory. The cravings and aversions to various foods furnish some of the most important points in deciding upon the remedy. Another important point that is mentioned in the preface of BBCR is about modalities. Boenninghausen gives so much importance to modalities that he says that if you finally arrive at a remedy for the patient, but the remedy does not cover the modalities of the case or covers the opposing modalities of the case, you must reconsider the remedy, which means that we must doubt the remedy that we have found because the modalities were not covered. See how much importance Boenninghausen gives to the modalities in a case. Now let us see how we have converted these symptoms into rubrics. It is but obvious that we will this time be taking all the rubrics from the BBCR or Boger-Boenninghausen's characteristics and repertory. Menstruation too late is from the menstruation chapter of BBCR, Menses too late. The next symptom, menstruation profuse, taken again from the menstruation chapter, Menses profuse 2. Menstrual discharge in membranes, taken from menstruation chapter, menstrual blood or blood discharges membranous. And watery menses, menstruation chapter, menstrual blood or blood discharges watery. The next is a concomitant, weakness during menses. Again, taken from the menstruation chapter, concomitants during menses, generalities, weakness. So can you see how the first 5 symptoms have only been taken from the menstruation chapter of BBCR? This is how detailed this repertory is. The next symptom, bitter taste in mouth, taken from the taste chapter of BBCR, taste bitter. Constipation, taken from the stool chapter, stool constipation. Eating meat aggravates. The next 3 rubrics have been taken from a unique chapter of the BBCR only on aggravation and amelioration. So, eating meat aggravates is taken from aggravation and amelioration, food, drink, acid, sea sour, meat aggravates. Drinking milk aggravates, again taken from the same chapter as milk aggravates. Aggravation from bathing is a direct converted rubric as bathing and washing aggravates, again from the aggravation and amelioration chapter of BBCR. Aggravation in the morning is taken from the chapter Conditions in General with time morning. And the last, Desire for salty food, taken from the Appetite chapter, Desire for salty things. We will now record all these rubrics from the BBCR in Homeopathy Zomeo and see the results that come up. We now record the rubrics with Homeopathy Zomeo. Remember, we are going to record all the rubrics from one repertory, the BBCR or Boenninghausen's characteristics and repertory. However, I will be showing you different ways in which we can record the rubrics from the same repertory. Let us start with the first. The first is menstruation too late or menses too late. Let's do a repertory search. Now, repertory search is a feature that is generally used when we would like to see the rubric references from all the repertories that are there in our software. I'll be showing you how we can search for a few rubrics using this feature. The first rubric is Menses too late. All you have to do is press Command S from your keyboard. Command S. I press Command S and a pop-up opens, which is a search bar in which I can now enter the keywords that I am looking for. I put menses late and click enter. I now see 289 references for late menses. However, my eye is only on one repertory, which is BBCR. So, I directly jump to the references from that repertory by clicking on Boenning here. Boenning is the short form of the BBCR in Homeopathy Zomeo. I click on Boenning and I see that there is only one reference for the keywords that I typed in BBCR. Menstruation, menses, too late. I check the box and it is now recorded. Let me show you another rubric recorded through repertory search. The next rubric is Menses Profuse 2. Again, we can press Command S from the keyboard. Another way in which you can access repertory search is by clicking on this word repertory from the top taskbar. When I click on it, the drop-down that opens shows me an option for repertory search. I click on it and the same pop-up opens. I now put in Menses Profuse and I click enter. Now I have more than 1,800 references. I am still going to go only with one repertory, which is BBCR. I click on boning and I see 3 references from that repertory. I select and record the first, Menses Profuse 2. The next rubric I am looking for are Menses Membranous. Now again, let me do a quick search through repertory search and look for this rubric. Command S again, and I only type one word, membranous. Enter, and now I see the references for membranous. Clicking on my hero repertory, BBCR, I see my reference here. Menstruation, menstrual blood or blood discharges membranous. I click on it. Now, if I would like to see what are the remedies under this particular rubric, I just click on the rubric and a window opens that shows me that there are 15 remedies, and it now displays the names and gradations of all 15 remedies. My next rubric is Menses Watery. Again, Command S and I type watery. I know that I have got a lot of references because the software has searched from all the different chapters. Again, I click on boning, which has 37 references, but I go to that one chapter which is specific for me, which is menstruation, menstrual blood or blood discharges watery. I select it and now my rubric is recorded. This is how simple it is to record rubrics using repertory search. My next rubric is the concomitants during menses, and it has weakness. So that is my rubric that I would like to record. My next rubric is weakness during menses. Now again, let me search for this using repertory search. Command S again and I type weakness menses. Enter 523 references, but I am looking for this reference. Concomitants during menses, generalities, weakness from BBCR. I click on it and it is now recorded. After recording 5 rubrics with repertory search, let me show you another very easy feature through which rubrics can be recorded, and that is quick symptom record. The quick symptom record is for those homeopaths or physicians for whom conversion of symptoms into rubrics is not a very easy task. For them, it is easier to look for the symptoms of the patient in the form of symptoms rather than rubrics. What we have done is we have listed out all the possible symptoms of a patient in patient language under quick symptom record, and against each symptom we have linked rubrics that are relevant to that symptom. That is quick symptom record. Let me show you how you can access this very important and utility oriented feature. All you have to do is press Command K from your keyboard and the quick symptom record feature opens. On the left hand side, you see a list of all the symptoms that have been categorized into different chapters. Now I want to look for two symptoms using this feature. The first is a bitter taste in the mouth and the second is constipation. Now to look for bitter taste, one option is to enter the chapter and look for the symptoms. But instead, why waste time when all I need to do is type the words in the search bar and get the result? So I type bitter taste. And now I get the references for bitter taste. The first is under fever. However, our patient does not have fever. She generally has a bitter taste in her mouth. So we click on the next reference, mouth, taste, bitter. I click on it and now I see all the references for bitter taste. I select the reference from BBCR, which is taste bitter. I check the box and this rubric is now recorded. The next rubric that we record is constipation. Again, all you need to do is just type here constipation. And now we see all the references for constipation in the quick symptom record. I go into rectum and anus, constipation. This is the rubric that I am looking for. So I click on constipation and now I see all the rubrics that have been linked to this word. I select the rubric from BBCR and now it is recorded. Let me show you two more symptoms recorded using quick symptom record. It's living up to its name by being a very quick feature. The next is an aggravation from meat. So all I need to do is just type in meat. And now I see the different options. I see aggravation, aversion, and desire for meat. What I am looking for is an aggravation from meat, which is already selected and the rubrics already displayed. I select the rubric from BBCR, which is the second in the list. The rubric is now recorded. And now the last symptom that I would like to show using the quick symptom record is aggravation from milk. So I type in milk. And now I see all the references for milk. I take the first one, which is aggravation from milk, and under this I see the third rubric, which is from BBCR, aggravation and amelioration, food and drink, milk aggravates. I check the box and the rubric is recorded. Isn't this very, very simple? And now I will show you the final way in which we can record rubrics, and that is the classic way. From entering into the chapter of that particular repertory, we look for the rubric and we record it. So the next rubric that needs to be recorded is an aggravation from bathing. Let us go first to the repertories. To do that, click on Repertory and click Repertory List. You can also press Command O from your keyboard. Clicking on Repertory List opens the list of repertories that are there in the software. I am looking for BBCR. This is the repertory that I am looking for. I click on boning and it opens up all the chapters that are there in BBCR. The chapter I am looking for is aggravation and amelioration. Now, if I don't want to scroll down, it is completely alright and understandable. All you need to do then is in this search bar, you type AGGRA and it directly jumps to the chapter that you're looking for. The chapter we want is aggravation and amelioration, which is selected and opened here. Now the rubric we are looking for is an aggravation from bathing. So just start typing. We type bathing and now you see the rubric search results that come up. This is the rubric we are looking for, bathing and washing aggravates. Now, you can either record the rubric from here itself, or if you would like to see the remedies under it, just click on the rubric and you will jump to that rubric in the aggravation and amelioration chapter. You can record the rubric from here as well, which we are going to do right now. That's it. The next rubric that we want to record is time morning. For that, we go into the chapter of generals by BBCR. So I start typing general. I see all the references of the generals or generalities chapters of different repertories and I go to the generalities chapter under boning. Now here I can already see that the first rubric is time and under time I can see morning. This is the rubric that I am looking for. So I did not need to type in anything because I saw the rubric and I got the rubric on the first page itself. So I select morning. This rubric is also recorded and now I record my final rubric, which is desire for salty food. For this, I need to go in to the appetite chapter of BBCR. So I type in APP and now the appetite chapter of BBCR is open in front of me and I now want to look for desire for salty food. So again, I start typing desire space salty. And this is the reference I get. There is only one reference in BBCR, desire for salty things. Let me record this rubric from here itself. It's done. And all 12 rubrics have been recorded from BBCR. Now, If I want to see the repertorization sheet, I will click on this icon here on the black taskbar, which is showing me that 12 rubrics have been recorded. I click on it and now my repertorization sheet is open. It is showing me 195 remedies. Now if we see the list, in totality, it is calcarea, which is coming out tops. If we look at the symptoms covered, it is again calcarea, which is covering all 12 rubrics that we have recorded. Friends, if we had recorded all these rubrics from different repertories, we would have got a much wider search result. We would have got a huger choice of remedies, but BBCR makes it very simple and specific for us. It is telling us that there is only one remedy and one remedy only that can be given to this patient, and that is calcarea, because it covers all of the rubrics. All of these rubrics are very, very, very important. However, if we still want to ensure that this is the remedy for our patient, what do? We apply a filter. Let us apply one of our most popular filters, which is the cross-repertorization filter. The cross-repertorization filter basically takes all the most important symptoms that you have marked and shows you only that remedy or those remedies that are covered by all the selected rubrics together. And this is going to give you a more refined picture. Now, suppose I'd like to see that remedy which covers all the physical generals in this case. Okay, because since they are generals, they obviously take up more prominence or importance. So I apply the cross-repertorization filter. I access the cross-repertorization filter from the filters toolbar. This is cross-repertorization. I click on it. Here I see a list of all the rubrics, and now I select all the generals in this case. So all the modalities as well as the desires. Apply, and now you see there is only one remedy, which is calcarea. So now I know that I need to prescribe calcarea in my case. But how do I decide in which potency I should give calcarea? Because the potency is equally important to the correct remedy. What do I do in such a case? I have something called as the Potency Selector, which is there in HomePad Zomeo, and this is going to help me to arrive at the correct potency for my patient. To access Potency Selector, I click Patient and I click the last option in this menu called the Potency Selector Guide. Now I see a pop-up window in which there are certain options. I need to select the option that is relevant to my patient. So my patient is an adult. She has average sensitivity. Her vitality is normal. Okay. I have filled all parameters here. So I go to the next page. My drug is a mineral. Calcarea is a mineral. The drug type is chronic. Okay. I go to the next page again. Now I see the disease stage. the disease stage is chronic, and I select the dominant as well as the fundamental miasms of psychotic, because there are cysts that are involved, and that is why this is a psychotic miasmatic evolution. And now I click on what are the predominant symptoms, particulars. Result, I have been told to give calcarea carb in the medium potency, so 30 to 200, and an infrequent repetition. So now the software has told me that my final prescription is calcarea carb in the 30th potency. And this is what we prescribed for the patient. So the treatment that she was given was calcarea carb 30, one dose per week at bedtime from the 5th day of her menses. The advice that she was given. It is very important, apart from the remedy that we give, that we also impart certain lifestyle modifications and dietary advice to the patient, because in them lie the maintaining causes of the disease. So this was the advice that was given. Brisk walking 5 days a week for 45 minutes. Dietary modifications to cut down on processed and fried foods, restrict dairy, have more of whole grains in the food, to completely avoid refined flour and refined oil usage, to have the last meal of the day before 9 p.m., to eat smaller meals every 3 hours instead of large meals infrequently, because this helps to rev up the metabolism and help in weight loss. To increase intake of fresh fruit and vegetables. Her follow-up, she got her menses on the 28th of March, 3 days, scanty flow, weakness during menses, not as severe, leukorrhea, and a weight loss of 1.5 kgs noted. The prescription was repeated. In the follow-up on the 1st of May, menses hadn't appeared yet. Morning aggravation was still there. However, she lost a further 2 kgs of weight. The same prescription was continued. 13 days later, she called up at the clinic that she had got her menses on the 13th of May, weakness not as severe as before, leukorrhea present before menses. On the 28th of June, when she came for her next follow-up, she had got her periods on the 23rd of June, flow 3 days, moderate, few clots, but the weakness was reducing and the leukorrhea was better. She lost weight further, but what really caught our attention was that even her morning aggravation seemed a little better this time. The remedy was not repeated. She was only kept on placebo. On the 8th of August, she reported that she got her periods on the 31st of July. If we see the previous follow-up, she got her periods on the 23rd of June. So what we are seeing is that the gap between one period to the next was slowly normalizing. She was still 7 days ahead, but much better than what it was before. flow 3 days, weakness reducing, leukorrhea improving. She is now bathing every day in the morning without any aggravation of complaints. Weight came down further at a steady 58.5 kgs, and she was advised to repeat her sonography. Look at the report. No obvious mass lesion or free fluid detected in the pelvic region on sonographic examination. She had become absolutely normal within a span of just 5 months. Now, what is the learning that we acquire from this case? Every case that comes into our clinic need not be a textbook case containing characteristic mentals and generals. Many times, the particulars are the hero of the case and predominate the entire patient picture. At such times, we consider the characteristics at the particular level that will guide us to the correct remedy, and very often they do. In this case, Boenninghausen's approach helped to decide the correct remedy. Pathology is equally important in refining our search for the remedy, since it helps to determine the miasmatic evolution of the patient. With the right remedy, it is not only the chief complaint, but the other peculiarities as well that will improve. So, if you saw in this case, it was not just her menses, but even her morning aggravation that improved a lot. So we see an overall improvement in this girl. Thank you very much, and I hope that you have taken a lot of learning from this case. We will see you next week. Goodbye and take care.